My son would never touch a blood traitor, Lucius says coldly, apparently ending this topic of discussion. Draco's face contorts. You are a blood traitor, Luce, right now. You are a blood traitor. Be fucking real, dude. Sorry. I'm just saying, like, seriously, dude. Like, you're a blood traitor as you're saying that. So your son can never touch you because you're a blood traitor? That's gross. Sorry for that incestualness. My father would never. My son would never touch a blood traitor. Lucius says coldly, apparently ending this topic of discussion. Draco's face contorts for a moment at his father's words. Well, why? But his words halt as he catches a look at his father's face, and I can't see what the look is, but I can imagine. I'm grateful for it. For a second there, I couldn't breathe for terror. Bellatrix shoots a filthy look at Lucius over the top of my head before she turns to Jenny. Don't look so disgusted, you little brat, she says violently to Jenny, whose lips is see, there's so much incest, dude, because Bellatrix wants to get on Draco's dick for some reason in this thing. She's got weirdness written all over her. You little brat, she says violently to Jenny, whose lip is still curled up at the look Draco is giving her. I should be proud that a pure blood such as Draco even deigns to look at you. Doop-a-doo. Hold on, guys. Doing something. Anyways, Draco gives a grateful little smirk, and that as Bellatrix walks slowly over to Jenny. Perhaps you need to learn some manners, Miss Weasley, she whispers. After all, manners befit one of your blood status, do they not? She reaches up into her sleeves, and then there's a flash of silver and a cry of I have to stop it. I gotta stop. I gotta go get something to drink.
Why isn't this book more upbeat? The next one I'm picking, I have to pick something happier. I want to be happy, and I'm happy, and and then this book is so not happy ever. It's like depressing as fuck. Okay. Anyways, this is chapter 28, part middle of 3. I feel like I shouldn't be doing an introduction then, never mind. I'm like, middle of 3? Never mind. Never mind. Okay, she reaches up into her sleeve, and then there's a flash of silver, and a cry of warning barely leaves my lips before Bellatrix slams her hand into Ginny's stomach. I watch in horror as Jenny screams and doubles over, and there's blood, oh, so much blood spilling out of her gut, damn, girl, over her hands. I start forward, but a hand of iron claps down on my shoulder, fingers biting through my robes, warning me to stay where I am. But oh my god. Oh god, Jenny! I can't do these voices. I can't do it. I hate when she says, oh god. I was just listening to 18 and like every 5 seconds I'm like, I hate when she says, oh god, it's the most annoying thing ever. And it is. No one says, oh god, like all the time. It's not a catchphrase we need. No! Ron screams, falling down on his knees next to his sister. He tries desperately to press down on the wound in her abdomen. She just sobs in pain even more whenever he touches her. Bright crimson blood flows over both of their hands. Oh god. Ginny sobs. Oh god, help me, please. I'm trying, Jen. I'm trying. Bellatrix flicks her wand at the knife in her hand, vanishing it, before she chuckles as she looks at her handiwork. Ron's head snaps up to face her, his face red with rage. God. You evil! He suddenly leaps to his feet and flies at Bellatrix, raising his fist in a blind rage. You will hit her right now, I swear! But from behind him, Avery flicks his wand. Crucio. Sorry. Crucio. Like, I just say it so calmly. Ron falls to the ground screaming in agony. I start forward automatically, but Lucy's fingers wrap around my wrist, holding me where I am, forbidding me to move. So he's like think about this for a second. Okay, she's in front of him, right? And he's like right behind her, like literally pressing his front against her back. I'm not even trying to be sexual, but just like really, 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 really close. He's got his right hand on her shoulder and his other hand holding her wrist. Like, he is like crazy up on her right now. It's insanity. Sorry. Seriously, dude. Seriously. Like, you're not okay. You're not okay is what I'm saying. Ron dashes up to the ground as Jenny crawls jerkily over to him, clinging to her stomach for all she's worth. She tries to let go of her bleeding stomach to hold him, but she cries out in pain as she does so, falling down next to her screaming brother. Every scream is like a knife in the heart to me. I begin to struggle again, but Lucius's grip on my wrist tightens and tightens, cutting off my blood. Circulation even, maybe? What? And then Ron screams stop as the curse is lifted from him. He curls up on the ground, shaking and shaking, but somehow keeping himself quiet. Avery looks down at Ron, and for the first time since I first met him, I can see something other than cold blankness in his eyes. A dark light is dancing there. It's faint. Very faint. But it's still there. "I'll make a deal with you, Weasley," he says to Ron, who looks up at him with bloodshot eyes. I will heal your sister. I will allow her to live. But first..." He pauses, and Bellatrix's eyes light up with excitement. Lucius' grip on my wrist tightens. "But first," Avery whispers, "you'll have to fuck her." Bellatrix gives a horrible, maniacal cackle. This is sick. It's inhumane. It's disgusting. It's everything their world is about, Hermione. But they can't. They just can't. I look around, willing someone to say something to put a stop to this, but Avery and Bellatrix just seem to find the whole thing very amusing. Both of them are smiling wildly, but the two Malfoys are reacting differently. Draco looks afraid. He looks like a baby rabbit that's been caught in an adventure too dangerous for one so young. And Lucius, when I chance to look up at him, he just looks back at me, his expression calculating. It's not as if he's interested in the situation, only the effect it has on me. Is what he brought me down here to see? What's wrong with him? You can't, I whisper. Lucius appears to be the only one who hears me. It's not my decision, he murmurs back, without looking at me. How Weasley is to be punished falls to his God to decide. I will intervene only if they give me permission to do so. I gape at him in horror before turning around to look at Ron again. Ron just stares at Avery, his body actually shaking as he sits up on his heels, as if he can't even comprehend what Avery just said to him. What did you say? He asks, his voice quiet and shaking. Bellatrix giggles horribly. You heard what he said, she says, her voice latent with malicious pleasure. We'll spare your sister's life, but first you'll have to fuck her. Ron goes so pale that his skin is almost green. I look down at Jenny. She clutches her stomach, blood flowing out of her fingers. She stares up at Bellatrix and Avery with so much of the same expression as Ron. You're out of your fucking tree, she whispers, her face contorted with pain in the effort of speaking. Both of you! You're both completely... She trails off into a gasp as she doubles over, clutching at her stomach. I just can't comprehend it. I just can't understand how anyone would even contemplate doing this to them. I turn around looking at Lucius, willing him to do something, but he just stares at me, his face stony. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Perhaps I'm hoping for too much. After all, the first time I've ever seen him display any humanity was towards me. He's never ever shown any towards Ron. Ever. And now I know why, don't I? I turn back to look at Ron. He's just shaking his head in disbelief. What is this? A sick joke? He shifts over to Jenny, pressing his hand into the gaping wound in her stomach. You twisted bunch of... And before he can finish, Avery moves suddenly and grabs at his shoulder, wedging him backwards and slamming him on the wall. Jenny screams and tries to move to help him, but like a lightning flash, Bellatrix gets hold of her, holding her down on the ground by her wrists. No, this can't go on. It's not fair. But even as I start forward, an arm of steel wraps around my wrist, drawing me back. Waist, excuse me. He's not even, like, doing anything. Sorry, it's crazy. He's like shoulder, wrist, and now he's like wrapping his arm completely around her stomach, like holding her up against him. Steel wind around my waist, drawing me back, holding me close to the person that holds me. Don't try it, he whispers, creeps into my ear. A wand pokes into my ribs. I'm serious. Just don't try it. This is not a joke, Avery drawls. It's a negotiation. We will heal her as soon as you sleep with her. What is wrong with you, you sick fuck? Ron shouts into his face. She's my sister! In that case, you should be willing to do anything to help her, shouldn't you? Bellatrix laughs, her eyes lit up with malice. Her knuckles whiten as she tightens her grip around Jenny. What kind of brother wouldn't even try to save his sister's life? Jenny kicks out furiously, her face... excuse me. Jenny kicks out furiously, her face contorted. Get off me! Just get off! Bellatrix raises her wrists. The next movement flicks her wand and Jenny's entire... Bellatrix releases her wrist, but the next moment flicks her wand, and Jenny's entire body goes limp and lifeless. Her eyes remain open, and the only part of her she can move. They stare around the room desperately. A pool of blood gathers around her tiny body. Excuse me. What's the matter with me? Your sister doesn't look long for this world, Weasley. Bellatrix drawls as she stands up. You'd better get down to business, hadn't you? Avery laughs, a high, almost musical laugh, as he pins down a frantically struggling Ron. Come, Weasley, he murmurs. After all, it's not as if she's a virgin, is it? No doubt Powder saw to that. Shut up! Shut up! Ron bawls, looking almost deranged. How can you even... She's my sister, for God's sake! Avery points his wand steadily into Ron's face, his expression deadly calm. We cannot be blamed, he whispers. Your parents have refused to do as we told them, even though they knew the consequences would be dire if they did so. So, in return, we will make their youngest son fuck their only daughter. That ought to shock them into some obedience, It's just so... Lucius' grip tightens around my waist. Ron shakes his head on the ground. Please! He says shakily, his voice wavering all over the place. Please, don't make me do this. Please. Auntie. My head swirls around. I'm almost forgotten Draco was here. He looks at the immobile Jenny, his face even wider than normal, with what is most definitely fear. I don't think, isn't this a bit... Draco. Lucius' voice comes from behind me. Don't interfere. This does not concern you.